Hey guys, welcome to the journey back with Tiffany Hunt. I know I was here speaking with you guys early about some things, and I told you I was going to come back today. So here it is, the second video of the day. I am going to be speaking about R. Kelly and Surviving R.Kelly. I watched, excuse me, I watched the documentary, and I will say my first impression was everyone's pain was palpable, and not just the people that were physically there, but I felt like, through all of those women, because all of those women, most of those women anyway, had shared a part of R. Kelly with themselves, and so he was there. I feel like his part of his spirit was there because it's gonna be a part of them until they do a ritual to make their souls be untied. And so even when his brothers were talking and his family was discussing what had previously happened to him, I could sense the pain and feel the pain. And I'm sure anybody, could look at that and see, their pain and that it was palpable. Guys, if I'm looking down, it's because I have certain points that I want to make. And so I just want to make sure I read, I get to that. Also, I realized and was just thinking, okay, there are all these other allegations for Caucasian men that have done horrendous things, and we have not seen one documentary on Harvey Weinstein. We have not seen one documentary on Woody Allen. We have not seen one documentary on Charlie Sheen, but we've seen a documentary for R. Kelly. We've seen a documentary for Bill Cosby, and that is no mistake. They want to put a face with these specific allegations and issues, and they want to make sure that the face is brown and or black. So it is not just, TV, or it's just, from what I understand and from what I saw in the stories, this is not new. This is not new information. This is old news that they've resurfaced, not necessarily put a couple more different faces with it, and then pushed it out into the media. And so we have to know that there is a purpose for that. There's a reason for it. And the reason is definitely not good for our community. I will say that what kind of triggered me to want to have this conversation is I was on my way driving home from dropping my daughter off. And I was just thinking to myself, you could have been one of those girls. And I say that because when I was 15 years old, my friends were older, 17 and 18 years old. And we used to sneak into this club. And for anyone that's watching this from that's from Jacksonville, you probably know about this club because it was popular in the 2000s. And it was a club called Jazzco for people that were 21 and older. Keep in mind, I said I was 15 years old going to this 21 and older club. And I was hanging out with my friends, and I would use my friend's ID, and they weren't even, of age, but they would let us in. We, looked the part, look how they wanted us to look. And we had relationships with other people there, not necessarily intimate relationships, but we had friendships with people that owned the business or that worked the business. So they would let us in, and we would get on the stage and we would dance and, and be all kinds of inappropriate. Like, I don't know if you all remember or if you're familiar with the song by Trina called Naya. And she just goes in very graphic detail about how she's, having sex or servicing a man. And my friend was doing this dance in particular to illuminate and give a visual as to what she was saying. And so me being the younger sister or younger friend, I want to emulate and copy my friends. And so I did. And I remember when I got off the stage, a male friend of mine, he just said to me, just quite bluntly, "Girl, you ain't effing like that." And the truth is, I wasn't having sex at all. But the thing is, I had communicated to everyone in the room that this is what I do. I had by just something I did. And I was 15 years old. My father was not around, but I have always had my grandfathers. And my mom was a single mom. She wasn't neglectful, but I wasn't the kind of kid where she had to be a helicopter mom to me. I wasn't getting in a bunch of trouble. But being in a situation where you make yourself vulnerable, because that was a 21 and older club. There are men there that aren't my age, they're grown, that if they looked at me, they would know that I was 15 years old. And so I could have gotten one of them or gotten someone in a bad situation because I was being a 15-year-old, being irresponsible, not thinking through my choices, because your brain does not fully develop, especially your deductive reasoning does not fully develop until you're the age of majority, which is 21. And so I'm putting myself in an adult position in making an adult decision, and I could be ruining somebody's life. And so I wanted to give that perspective that those young girls, everybody that talked, no one said that he made me. They said that I felt like, who was I to tell R. Kelly no? And that right there is a major problem, which means everybody that he's dealt with, of course, was vulnerable at the end of the day. But all the people that are in the situation, him and the young lady and or the parents, everybody is dealing with trauma. That is what I saw. Everybody has issues, because that means that no one has told you as a young girl that you own your body, that nobody has the right to tell you what to do with your body, no matter who they are, no matter what their name is, no matter what their celebrity status is or how much money they have. All of them gave him possession of their bodies freely. And no, I'm not saying that he didn't may have not taken advantage of the situation, but how many men that are not in his position have been in situations like that, where they met a girl, she lied and she said that she was a different particular age. And I'm not saying that this is the case with all of those women, because of course, everybody for the most part was a teenager, except for a couple of the ladies. And so that was his target. That's what he was attracted to. And that's what he's attracted to. And so, excuse me. And so we want to judge his situation because we know all the grimy details of him peeing on the girl and, well, allegedly peeing on the young lady, and them telling you that he's making them do threesomes. All of us have our own things in our lives that basically are our impulses controlling our choices and taking our lives in a downward spiral. He's not the only one. His is just right now anyway, one of the main ones that's put on blast, one of the main ones that a flashlight is shined, well, really a spotlight, not a flashlight, is shined on, and we are supposed to be upset and angry with him. And at the end of the day, no, according to the allegations and the things that the young lady said, I didn't think anybody was being untruthful in what their experience of it was, and they're allowed to feel however they feel. I would not invalidate anybody's experience or anybody's feelings. However, he's a human being with feelings too, and he was irreparably damaged from his sister and then a man in his neighborhood. So he was violated as a young child. And so even though everybody's saying, well, he's a grown man, he knew what he was doing, he knows what he was doing, and maybe consciously he does know what he's doing, but a lot of the things that we do, most of us, not just him, are in a subconscious way. We don't live in a conscious way. We have checked out of our own lives and we're living subconsciously, and so we move day to day. And so even though I don't know his current age, I didn't really look it up, but he may be late 40s, early 50s, somewhere in there, and he's dating extra young women, teenage women, prepubescent women, however, the young ladies. However, his brain could be as young as 15, because just because his body and his chronological age says that he's 48 or 50 years old, his brain could have stopped at where the trauma is. And this is not me making an excuse for who he possibly is or what he possibly did or all the allegations or whatever. I don't know what the man did. I wasn't in the room. I didn't do it. I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't say 100% for sure that he did it, and I can't 100% for sure say that he didn't do it. There's a big possibility that he did do it from all the information that we got. However, that's really not what's important to me. What's important to me is that we as a community stop sweeping things up under the rug. When his brother was talking about his trauma, as close as he was. Well, he didn't talk about his closeness with his mom. I did see another interview that his brother Kerry did with another outlet, and he was talking about how close he was to his mom because he was the baby. And so he would go wherever she went. He would follow her foot for foot. But even though he was close to his mom, he was scared to tell his mom that his sister had violated him, like he had done something wrong. So that is what the issue is, in my opinion. The issue is, in our community, we don't pull the cover off of this garbage. We don't deal with the root of the issue. We so busy getting mad and picking the leaves off the tree or cutting the tree down. We don't think to root the tree up so that it won't regrow. Because if you chop a tree down and its roots are deep enough, if you put some more water on that bad boy, you put some more fertilizer on it, it's going to grow. And so that's what our problem is. We're not dealing with our root issues. And so it's years of trauma. It's years of pain. And I'm pretty sure somebody probably, just me guessing, somebody probably did something to his sister, which is why she felt comfortable or thought it was okay to do what she did to her brothers. Not just one brother, but two brothers. And she utilized her authority, she utilized her control, and from the descriptions that the lady gave, and then the descriptions that Kerry gave in some of that interview, and then in another interview that I saw of him, they're pretty similar. What he did to the young ladies, or what they're saying allegedly that he has done to the young ladies, is what the brother is saying that was done to them. But then the other part that I want us to look at too is, everybody that was with him wanted to be with him or was trying to be with him for something that they can gain. They weren't going into his life or trying to be a part of his life to add anything to it. Everybody was coming for their own bag or to secure their own future or to have their own dreams come true. They weren't bringing him anything to the table. And I mean, I learned this as a young girl. My grandmother always said, you make sure that, if you go out to dinner or if you go out on a date or if you go and do whatever, that you can afford to pay your own way. Not saying that you can't lean on a man, but then there are times when there are men that feel like, well, if I bought you this, then you owe me that. And so those young girls and their parents, why I feel for their situation, like I said, I'm not negating anybody's pain because everybody's pain is palpable. I'm not negating anybody's trauma, including R.Kelly's, because he's a human being too. And he needs healing and he's broken and he needs help. And it's plenty of us that need help in a lot of different areas. And like I said, our impulses are controlling our lives. How old is the person that's running your life? Did your brain and your emotional capacity stop at 10 or 15 or 20 and you're 30 or 40 years old and you haven't dealt with your stuff? And that same little kid, that little girl or that little boy is running your life currently and it's running amok. And you're not dealing with your problems. We're not dealing with our issues in our community. We're not rooting things out. And mainly, we don't have ritual. We don't know who the hell we are. Period. Like, yeah, we can speak a lot of different words, but as Chief has said at times, if you don't have ritual to fix the issue, to deal with life, to remedy the problem, you're just recirculating it. You're not rooting it up. You're not dealing with it. And most of us don't know who we are because nobody taught us, and the people that raised us didn't fully know who they were. They didn't have access to the information. They didn't have access to the internet and in the way that we do. And we have been brainwashed. We have been programmed to be scared of who we are. We have been programmed to not tap into our inner selves. We have been programmed to not trust our own voice. We have been programmed to hate ourselves, hate the way we look, hate the way our hair looks to try to get somebody else's hair. I mean, it runs so deep. And this is not the first generation that this has been happening in. And really, really take a second and think that the choices that you are making today will affect 7 generations after you. Let me say that again. The choices that you make today are going to affect 7 generations after you. And what I mean by impulse control is, okay, I could talk about my own stuff. I don't know about everybody else's stuff, but I have had challenges with my weight. I have had challenges with telling myself no when it comes to food. I have been impulsive about what I want to eat because emotionally somebody hurt my feelings, or I'm mad, or I'm sad. Like a lot of our celebratory things are attached to certain meals and certain foods that we want to eat. And so there's trauma there. There's a problem there. And then when I was younger, unbeknownst to my mom, it was her means of protecting me. I remember being in middle school, and this young guy that was in school with me, he spit gum at my butt. And then he started by spitting gum at my butt. And then when I responded that time, it wasn't as dramatic. And then the next time he actually felt on my butt, and I punched him. I got into a fight with him. Now, he didn't hit me back or anything like that, but I got in trouble for defending myself in reference to my body. I got in trouble at school because I put my hands on somebody because they had put their hands on me. And then I remember so many instances in middle school. I was walking home and these men were beeping at me. And literally when I looked at the men, they were old enough to be my father or my grandfather. And that wasn't like a one-time instance thing. So believe me, this is not just an issue with R. Kelly. It's a pandemic epidemic. And then my issue is not necessarily that he's attracted to young women, because it's plenty of men that, say I at one time at 15 years old was dating a guy that was 21 years old. I was a bit mature for my age. People always have thought that I was older than what I actually was, especially as a teenager and as a young lady. And so I was mature. The guy was actually in the Navy. He was 21 years old. I was a virgin at the time. We were not having sex or anything like that. And we enjoyed each other's company and we had fun. But then one time he came to pick me up from this event that had a bunch of high schoolers. And so he saw all the high schoolers and I got into the car. And he said to me, it just dawned on me that this is your peer group. These are your peers. These are your friends. And I'm in a peer group with your mom. And although my mom was much older than he was, well, probably not necessarily much older, me and my mom are only 15 years apart. So she was older than he was. What he said was valid, and then as being married, I've been married for 12 years. I went through some level of premarital counseling. In the counseling session, the counselor made it clear to me that biologically a man's body is ready or needs sex every 2 to 3 days. And so when you're putting young girls that look like grown women in situations, it's unfair to just blame the man and say it's all his fault for him to be attracted to what he thinks might be older. Now, there are some things, I've never seen the video and I have no desire to see the video, that said the girl, she looked prepubescent. You could tell she was young. You could tell she was undeveloped and immature. And so I understand that when you have an issue, no matter what the issue is, sometimes it rules and runs your life, and it rules and runs your life in the ground until you start to root some things out, until you start to deal with your issues, until you start to look at yourself and deal with yourself. And then when you have everyone around you aiding and abetting your bad behavior and not loving you and caring enough about you to tell you that you need to fix it. And then when the people that do come out and say that you need to fix it, because his brother did say that he had a conversation with him. I think there was another guy on there that might have said that he had a conversation with him. He still has the majority of the people around him helping him and doing all manner of things. And for those parents, they have a level of responsibility. Because yes, there were allegations. Okay, a lot of times where there's smoke, there's fire. Even if the man was acquitted of all charges or whatever, there was a video circulating. There were conversations being had. There was the whispers about his previous relationship with Aaliyah. And so you as the parent, your job is to protect your child. Whether they want to go off and be with R. Kelly or not, but you didn't let him whisper in their ear. And so we understand that, okay, you're not your kid's only influence. However, if we had the village, if we had ritual, we could solve these problems. We could fix these issues. We could deal with stuff we could receive some healing. But because it is not popular, it's becoming more popular, but because it hasn't been popular, we've been told that something is wrong with it. It's weird. It's ungodly. It's unchristian. Yes, it is unchristian. Thank God it's unchristian. Thank ancestors it's unchristian. And so we just need to deal with our issues. And then, okay, I just wanted to make sure I had met all my points. The major thing I want to do is us to focus on dealing with our own issues, looking ourselves in the mirror, and learning from his experience or from what's going on with him. He's a troubled man. They are troubled young ladies, and their parents are troubled. There was trauma all over that documentary, and I just felt bad for the whole group. Because as I said, the pain was palpable, and there are things that we can do, excuse me, guys, to resolve and remedy issues. There are things that we can do to fix it, but we have to be willing to step out and try something different other than what grandma did. Because grandma, yes, she did all that she knew, but she didn't have access to the internet. She didn't have access to Google. She didn't have access to communities the way we do. Now, they did have a level of community that we don't have. We don't have relationship with our neighbors. We live in neighborhoods, as Dr. Claude Anderson said. We don't live in, he said we live in subdivisions. We don't live in neighborhoods. We don't have neighborly attitudes towards one another. We might speak to our neighbor on the way to our house. We don't know them intimately. We don't have a relationship with them. They can't reprimand our children, because we have ownership over our house. And the reason we need community so much is because I've learned and realized that all of our needs can't be met through, even though you become a parent, you may still not have everything that your child needs. So she needs time with her grandmother. She needs time with her grandfather, both sides. She needs time with her aunts, her uncles, great aunts and uncles. If she has access to those things, he or she has access to those things, we need to make time and make those things available to our kids. Because for me, and not to offend my mom and, not to step on her toes. And I know all the sacrifices that I don't know all the sacrifices she made, but I know a lot of the sacrifices she made. And I appreciate everything she did. I am grateful for the community because I grew up in a beauty salon. I grew up around my grandparents. And so I can see in my life at 36 where I gleaned certain things and learned certain things from different people. Now, in the African tradition, you live in a village and everyone in the village cultivates your natural gifts, the gifts that they see in you. They don't put your fire out. They don't tell you that something is wrong with you because you're different than everybody else. They see from a spiritual standpoint where you are, there are rituals done. And so they help you, they cultivate, they love on you. You can spend time with your uncles one-on-one and not have to worry about somebody touching you inappropriately. And then on top of that, I'm sorry, my nose itches, guys. The other thing that I didn't mention that I just thought about and actually that had come up is we are living someone else's life. Like what was done to us on the plantation, women and men, once we came over here, that is not something that we dealt with across the water at home. Because if anybody did that, they knew that that was their last day living. They wasn't going to make it. You don't violate a child because they reverence and respect children in a way that we don't. And so I just want to end with, before you're pointing the finger, and I'm not saying that there's not valid issues, valid problems or whatever, figure out what you can do to help modify your life so that your children and your grandchildren aren't dealing with the same trauma that you have because you chose not to deal with it at an opportune time when you had opportunity and you had access to information to do so. Yes, R.Kelly has issues. I hope that one day the man gets the help that he really needs and that all those victims get the help that they need and that If there's a ritual, I'm sure there's a ritual that I could do. I might speak to my chief about it and talk to him and see if there's anything that I could do to help remedy the situation, because circulating this hatred and this vitriol and venom towards this one person as if he's the only person responsible for the situation he's in is extremely unfair. It's extremely Western, but it's extremely unfair. And true enough, yes, he needs to resolve his issues. But I also, as my job is here on the journey back, you need to work on your issues. Whatever impulses you have that are controlling your life. And then furthermore, yes, his sexual acts are gross in my opinion. However, what somebody does in their bedroom is none of my darn business. It's not my business. How would you like if all of your, like I said, a spotlight was shined on all your secrets and all your mistakes and all your misgivings? You wouldn't like it. You wouldn't appreciate it. And I noticed in all of the interviews that he did, he had his sunglasses on. And that's a means of saying, I don't want to be seen. Don't see me. I'm invisible. That's what stars do to kind of, to say that they don't want to be bothered. And so you're in the interview, but you're not present. You don't really want people to ask you questions. You don't really want people invading your space. You know, and yes, he's cunning and crafty. And yes, he's talked about being the Pied Piper, and he's doing just that. So at the end of the, well, it's alleged that he's doing just that. And he's gotten possibly smarter with the way that he did it. But at the end of the day, we need to deal with the root of the issue and stop picking the leaves off the tree. Stop chopping the branches down. We need to pull that tree up by its roots and set it aflame after we ask the tree. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. I just wanted to jump back in and have this conversation with you guys. Again, here on the journey back, we always want to give you fuel for action. Please apply the information that's given. Please reach out to have a session with me if you need help, if you want change, if you want to modify your life, if you want to make some adjustments, if you want to make some future plans and a detailed plan in order to get to the goals that you want to reach. I'm available. Please reach out to me. I will have my information in the description box. Again, I thank everyone for watching. I thank you for giving me time today. I appreciate the shares. I appreciate every comment. Please comment, please rate, please subscribe, please hit that subscription bell. That notification bell, so that when a new video uploads, you'll be notified that it's uploaded and you can watch it. Please focus on your healing and looking in the mirror at yourself. I love you guys. I thank you again for your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.